And usually I warn people in the beginning of the video, if you don't like gory movies, if The Fly, for example, is not your kind of movie, this video and this movie, The Substance, maybe is not for you as well. But then you ask me, but Gus, how can you say that a movie with the muse of cinema, Demi Moore, and the new muse of the independent movies, Margaret Qualley, is disgusting? Well, it was with great surprise by watching this movie that I realized that The Substance belongs to an old style of trash movies, which is simply marvelous. And for the namesake of this channel, Trashing, I couldn't avoid talking about it. The movie's about this old star of Hollywood, played by Demi Moore, called Elizabeth Sparkle, a celebrity that even has a star in the Walk of Fame, but nowadays is forgotten, being recognized only by doing these fitness shows of aerobics. Being considered a has-been, which is a term used for a person that was famous, but today is not so much anymore, she's fired by the TV show's producer, a guy named Harvey, played by Dennis Quaid. By a contact in a hospital, she discovers a program called The Substance, which is a serum that belongs to the black market that promises a newer and more beautiful version of any person. Desperate, she injects the serum in herself, which immediately generates a new being coming out of her back, which means her younger and more beautiful version, played by Margaret Qualley. And when I say comes out of her back, it's literally this, like a new being coming out of a shell, with all the gore that makes a trash movie so marvelous. But then the program also has rules. The second being has a new mind that is not fully integrated with her original body. That is, she can go out there living her own life, but there is a period that both of them can be conscious, alternating with each other. Each one has 7 days to be conscious and have to change places with the other. So while the newer version goes out there living a life, the other has to wait inactive for 7 days, waiting to go back to consciousness and vice versa. Plus, the newer version has to extract body fluids daily from the original body and inject in herself to maintain her own body stabilized and not start to degenerate. And this is where the beauty begins, because the younger version gives herself the name of Sue and starts to take over everything that belonged to the original life of Elizabeth Sparkle. She becomes the new host of the fitness show. She becomes a celebrity instantaneously. And little by little, it's obvious that she will want to live more than 7 days in the place of her original version. So what was an attempt to see herself back as a young person full of success, basically a perfect version of herself through the fake mirror of the lights of Hollywood, starts to become a nightmare in the life of Elizabeth Sparkle, who starts to resent Sue and all her instant celebrity fame. And The Substance doesn't hide that the whole story is a fable about getting older and how Hollywood discards some of its own celebrities after a certain age, especially women, always giving preference to the fresh, the young, and most of the time these empty carcasses that are these new celebrities. And there's nothing discreet about this metaphor during the whole movie. Actually, everything is in your face. There's no hidden symbology. Everything is over the top. The movie starts with Elizabeth Sparkle's star in the Walk of Fame, and a guy passing by drops a very disgusting sandwich over the star. Then he tries to clean it up and leaves the whole thing all messed up, which alludes to something that is going to happen later in the movie. And like I said in the beginning of the video, besides this very interesting metaphor and this actual reality of Hollywood, what really shocked me is that this whole plot is packed in a very trash movie that starts with the body horror style, like any movie from David Cronenberg, and little by little becomes a movie in the vibes of Frank Henenlotter. And for those who don't know Frank Henenlotter, don't know that he's the director of many classics of trash cinema, like the Basket Case trilogy and a very dear movie to me that is Frankenhooker, which by the way, I have a very special video about it here in the channel. Movies that are spectacles of the gore cinema, but that also have a little social commentary behind, plus being these horror fables, which is very interesting because the substance has big names in its cast. We have Demi Moore, who is a queen of cinema, in a very brave role because she puts her own beauty into test here, playing a person that is not happy at all with her own appearance, even though she is still a beautiful woman. But this is exactly the point of the commentary this movie makes, this obsessive search for perfection. And I say this is a very brave role for Demi Moore because she's not afraid of showing her own body completely naked in some scenes, and for her age, she's absolutely incredible, but she has no hesitation in showing herself, which could happen with any other actress in the same role. Plus, she is also very brave in putting herself under a heavy makeup, but then this is something I will have to talk later because is part of the spoiler zone. And as this movie is still a little recent, maybe some people haven't watched yet. But as many other actors, like for example Jeff Goldblum in The Fly, she also puts herself under this heavy makeup to represent a new phase of her, and I gotta say, it's fucking awesome. Another brave decision of the actress. And then we have Margaret Qualley, that, like I said before, she's a new name that is coming up. She had a very nice role in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood from Quentin Tarantino. Then she played many other roles, including a small part in Poor Things, another recent movie that I also loved very much. So she's an actress that has been building a very interesting and consistent career in these smaller, more independent movies. Plus, she also has the same kind of courage of Demi Moore by showing her own body completely naked and also acting under a very heavy makeup in another phase of her character that I will also talk later. So these are two excellent performances, and the rest of the cast is also very good. Dennis Quaid plays this very disgusting producer that the camera makes sure of doing close-ups in his greasy face and also the greasy food that he eats. Plus, his name is Harvey, so for those who understand the reference, we don't even have to talk about it. And I say this because it's very interesting to see these big actors in a movie that goes totally to the trash genre towards its end. And this is where I'm gonna go into the spoiler zone. If you haven't watched the movie yet, maybe you should watch it and then come back to see the rest of this analysis. But the idea here is that as the time goes by, the character of Demi Moore starts to degenerate more and more because of the process. After all, she is the original body, the base body that fuels the younger version. And this is where the movie goes towards a more Cronenberg vibe because she gets older too fast and becomes basically a version of the character in The Witches or even the witch from Snow White, but much more grotesque and disgusting. And it's an incredible performance because besides being in this deplorable situation, the character becomes much more funny this way, especially because there is a scene where she and her younger version, Sue, finally face each other and a huge fight starts in their apartment. And let me tell you, people, this is a fantastic scene. And this is where I fell in love with the movie because besides being a brutal fight, it's very comical. Especially because Demi Moore is in this very elderly body, but she runs away from Margaret Qualley with a good agility. And the shaky camera following them both during this chase makes the whole thing even funnier. But then the scene ends in a bloodbath, with the character Sue killing Elizabeth Sparkle for good, but losing her fluid source that will keep her consistent. And of course, the movie will end with a big presentation that is the character Sue presenting a New Year's Eve show, but also falling apart little by little and facing the problem of how to present this show since she is degenerating, and she's gonna have the brilliant idea of using the serum of the substance in herself, trying to create a third being that was supposed to be more perfect than her. But of course, that what comes out of her back, it's an aberration that is so disgusting that I can only describe as a 3 times worst version of Belial from Basket Case. And this is why I say this movie it's filled with this black and absurd humor that is also present in the old trash movies. Because for being this grotesque monster, she has the brilliant idea of going to a poster of Elizabeth Sparkle that is on her apartment, cutting off the face of the poster and putting on herself and go to the show that she's supposed to host. But since the movie is this fable about beauty versus ugliness, it's obvious that the poster face falls during the presentation and the real monster is revealed to the whole audience that revolts against the thing and starts to attack it right there on the stage. And that becomes a real bloodbath. Her head is destroyed, her arms are cut off, blood rains down all over the audience in the studio, the whole place becomes bathed in red, and new parts start to grow out of the monster, replacing the destroyed limbs, and they are even more disgusting. There's a moment that her flesh spills a breast from her eye, and it's very disgusting, but at the same time is extremely glorious and funny. But then the movie has this perfect ending with the monster walking down the street after bathing everyone in the studio, and it gets completely destroyed over the pavement after tripping and falling down, basically exploding all over the cement. But there is one detail. This monster also had the face of Demi Moore, the real face of Elizabeth Sparkle, on its back. So when the monster gets destroyed on the pavement, the only part that remains alive is this face that looks like a crushed pizza. And this face drags itself across the sidewalk until finding the star of Elizabeth Sparkle in the Walk of Fame. And this is where she finally dies and melts completely over the star, in an allusion to the beginning of the movie where the guy dropped his sandwich all over the star. Not only that, but a cleaning guy passes in the morning and using a machine to clean the dirt from the floor, he wipes the rests of Elizabeth Sparkle forever. That is, he cleans the memory of her forever from everybody's minds. What a fantastic movie. It is the best of the year for sure. It is directed by a French director called Coralie Fergus. I'm pretty sure I am pronouncing her name wrong, but okay. And this is only the second movie in her career, and after I saw that, I ran after the first one to watch it as well. A movie called Revenge from 2017, and it's pretty good as well. It is a movie that has much more to do with another style of cinema, with the exploitation, a genre of scary road movies that I also made a very special video here in the channel if you want to check it out as well. And the story of this movie Revenge is very simple. It's about this girl who is sexually abused by some guys, and then she goes after revenge by herself. And even though it is a simple premise, it's very well done as well. So I'm very excited to keep an eye in this director and see what else she is going to bring in the future, especially after The Substance. So I loved this movie with a passion. It was a great surprise, especially because I was expecting a much more artsy movie, because it went on a tour through many festivals out there. But no, it's a great option if you love this trash cinema as well. And the movie will have many more funny scenes, but it also has these dark ones, not even using gore, but focusing in this desperation for perfection. So it's basically a perfect movie. If it has any flaws, I would say that it's a little too long, even though I never felt bored or felt that they should cut any scene to make the length a little shorter. And I also think the title, The Substance, is a little too simple and doesn't call too much attention for what the movie is, but I guess this is the point too. But a great option if you love this kind of movies, like I said. And if you also love these productions filled with practical effects and makeup that are absolutely incredible, if you like old movies like The Incredible Melting Man, or one that I watched recently called Street Trash and has excellent effects of people melting, this is for you, okay? And this is it. Thank you so much if you have watched the video completely. If you like this kind of content that we talk here in Trashing with Gus, of horror movies, trash movies, animations, animes, and other things, please don't forget to leave your beloved like in this video and also your amazing subscription so we can keep trashing together and forever, alright? See you in the next trashing video and bye bye.